So it was put out in the whatever interwebs,
ether world,
on a potential trade. Yeah. All right. So we talked about this too. Like Kyrie, to everybody, man, don't be reading too much into that. Like, claiming that the media and all these talking heads are trying to put things, put it like, dude, you sat courtside at the Lakers playoff game. Like, we're not making stuff up just to make it up. And it's been talked about in the past, right? About, Kyrie wanting to, reunite with LeBron James. And that's what it looks like LeBron may be wanting, and rightfully so. I mean, if you put Kyrie with AD and LeBron, they're a Western Conference favorite. One of the top 2, maybe 3 going into next year, right? Hands down.
Yeah.
No matter what the makeup is otherwise, they'd put something together, Rob Pelinka would. But with those 3 guys, that's solid. That's real good. So,
you know what the problem is, though? The problem is you cannot fit those 3 salaries on that team and have a bench. The money would not
look
add
at
up
Phoenix.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
That's your prime example. And I read an article that actually, I think it was on CBS Sports, or maybe it was Yahoo Sports, that really broke down the dilemma that Rob Pelinka would face, because he has learned his lesson by creating this team with depth by trading away Russell Westbrook's contract. It's like, yes, on paper, if you could have 3 superstars healthy for the playoffs, you could probably go far. But to get to the playoffs, here's LeBron, who's 38 years old. AD, who can be street clothes during the regular season. To even get into the position, you have to have enough depth that LeBron doesn't play all these minutes where he has a high usage rating, where AD doesn't have to play all these minutes where he might get hurt. About Kyrie, if he were even there, he doesn't play every game of the season. So with all those things being said, it's like almost impossible, especially when you try to juggle how there's going to be a harder cap in the CBA with the players and the owners. And it's a situation where Rob Pelinka just can't say, okay, we'll do this, especially when Kyrie wants a very good contract, not just, I'll come there on the cheap. He's not going to do that.
I wouldn't think so.
I think he's got a commitment to the Mavericks myself.
Well, part of the reason why he wanted out from the Nets was because he wanted that, the Supermax deal.
And you know what else? He also said this. He said, I want to go someplace where I'm wanted and not tolerated, because what the Brooklyn Nets offered was a whole bunch of sticklers to the contract. We'll give you this much if you are able to do that. Qualifiers, the best way to put it. It's like you have to play X many games, or can't get into trouble, or it was all these little different things that because they had already lived through, life with Kyrie and all these ups and downs. And he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, look, since he came to Dallas, and this is, small sample size, hasn't been that much time, but he has been very much tolerable. So I think that's more the answer than anything else, that if you want to be tolerated, be tolerable. But he has been. Now, it's been, rumored or just talked about, or just, I guess, kind of put out there on the Mavericks, if there is a trade with the Lakers, that it would involve D'Angelo Russell, and longtime NBA reporter from Substack, very well connected to the Mavericks, obviously, Mark Stein. He reinforces that the Mavericks still plan to re-sign Kyrie Irving, and even if a sign and trade with the Lakers was on the table, they would not be interested in D'Angelo Russell, which I can say right now with all the confidence is music to Chris Arnold's ears.
That's right.
But
and the number one reason why, let me just say real quick why. In professional basketball, it's all about the playoffs. And in the regular season, you can't have players who can get eliminated out of the playoffs or sit on the bench in foul trouble, or their game doesn't rise to playoff level. The other team can take you out of your game. And D'Angelo Russell, I like him as a guy, he's a good player, but he just told on himself through these playoffs because he was not there for them when they needed him, which is why, everybody's throwing out these other crazy rumors. Speculation is a sport, and one of the reasons why his name is being bandied about is if he had a great playoff run like Rua, come on now. That's why it's like, what are you laughing about?
The 214.
What is that?
We would rather have D'Angelo the singer than the point guard from the Lakers.
Facts! Tell it, preach. I love that. Yeah, because D'Angelo Russell did nothing for them in the playoffs. And so you want somebody, we were talking about Rua, right?
Talk about what? Who?
The other guy.
Oh, Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, Rui.
I like Rui.
That's because he showed up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I hate to go back to Christian Wood because I like him as a person. Christian Wood has been in the league 6 years, never been to the playoffs. And the reason why you can't play him in the playoffs is because he does not really care about defense. He can't learn the defense. And if you were to get, and everybody say, oh, he's so skilled. Yeah, he can give you 20 points a game in the regular season. But other teams' coaches will designate the guy to eliminate in the playoffs. They got 7 games and say, you know what? We're going to take 20 points away from the Dallas Mavericks. So the Mavericks are like, dude, commit to some defense. He couldn't get it. And then the other guys are like, we need to play other guys because guess what? They can barbecue. It's called barbecue chicken. They can put you in foul trouble with pick and rolls on you. That's why in certain matchups, when the Lakers were taking on Denver, and you had the MVP, Jokic, and Jamal Murray. You had AD and LeBron on those two guys so that they wouldn't lose anybody and somebody wouldn't get in foul trouble, and vice versa. It's all head games on the pick and roll because who's going to get in foul trouble? And Christian Wood would automatically get into foul trouble. And that's what Maverick fans, I want to see Christian Wood.
Okay, so let me ask this to you, but particularly the Tolos out there, 877-881-1053. That is the number on the truckwreck.com text line. Would you be willing, in order to become better, especially defensively, get a player knowing that your team, a very good possibility, could be one of the most hated teams by fans in the NBA?
Are you talking about Golden State's own?
Not Draymond.
Draymond, I'd welcome Draymond.
I would welcome.
Oh, no, we ain't bringing Dillon Brooks. He is not a good defender.
Hold on.
He's a clown.
Bleacher Report had one ambitious free agent target for every NBA team. And here they are on the Dallas Mavericks. The scope and ambition of the Dallas Mavericks free agency wish list changes significantly if Kyrie Irving leaves. Let's assume he stays. The Mavs ponied up their best defender, Dorian Finney-Smith, and an unprotected 2029 first-rounder to go get Kyrie. You don't pay that premium if you're not willing to pony up, and most certainly if you think he's a legitimate flight risk. It would be nice if that defense comes attached to shooting. Dillon Brooks will certainly shoot, just not efficiently. But finite spenders can't be choosy.
Oh, please.
And as it stands, Brooks might be a touch too ambitious. But Brooks did just make an all-defensive team.
By default. Let me tell you something. He's got too much baggage, and he's been exposed. Remember I was telling you about it's all about the playoffs? LeBron exposed him, or he exposed himself on that. And again, this is not the place, the Dallas Mavericks, where he gets to learn, or we get to find out if he's. It's kind of like saying, oh, I want DeAndre Ayton. Oh, he just needs to change the scenery. DeAndre Ayton costs too much, and you don't, because he costs over $30 million a year, you can't afford
that dude's
to see.
Soft. And
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so Dillon Brooks is in that same category in a different kind of way. This is not an experiment to, we'll see if we can get something out of it. No. Here's where you go with this. If the Dallas Mavericks, the perfect person, if you're talking about the wildest, what you call it, a wild dream or whatever?
Yeah. Most ambitious.
Most ambitious. If the Boston Celtics were to lose this game tonight, and they have to blow it up, because let's say they get blown out. Let's say for whatever reason, the embarrassment of it all, you just have to blow it up. The perfect player to bring to the Dallas Mavericks is Marcus Smart. And he bring him home. He was Defensive Player of the Year last year. He is a guy that can dribble the ball and shoot a three. He does all those things. He's got some size. He's got a championship mentality. He's not a fraud like Dillon Brooks. But it would take the Celtics choking away at all.
Yeah. And so, Dillon Brooks is obviously available.
And when everybody keeps talking about, D'Angelo Russell, all these guys, because like I said, speculation is sport. I ain't mad at nobody with speculation, and this is the time of the year for all that stuff. But they always do one-on-one team trades. Nowadays, it's always the third team involved. Even when Russell Westbrook was contracts traded to Utah, he still didn't wind up in Utah, wind up at Clippers, but also is Minnesota players involved as well. D'Angelo Russell was in Minnesota. But that's too hard for people to think outside the box. It's 3 teams or more. That's why you don't have to be saying, well, this doesn't match up in the trade machine. It's more complicated than that nowadays, and that's to an advantage to the Dallas Mavericks. One other note, unlike last year when Jalen Brunson just walked away, unfortunately, if Kyrie were to just walk away, the Mavericks cleared $25 million in cap space. So anybody that thinks the Mavericks will be screwed, they don't have to do a sign and trade. The Mavericks have all the leverage if Kyrie were to leave for any team. Because guess what? We got cap space and a top 10 pick.
Alec, would you entertain it? Dillon Brooks?
No, flat out no. Multiple reasons. Chris mentioned it. The baggage that comes with him, but 2, I don't know where the money is going to lie because apparently he had an offer on the table already, to like an extension offer that he turned down because he wanted more money and he believed that he could get more on the open market. And basically, the team said, "Nah, that's cute that you think that, but we're good. We're going to stop here." And then that's when the under no circumstances report came out because he has the baggage and he basically told the team, "I can get more than that." And they were like, cool.
And shot him out the playoffs, too. He can't shoot.
Yeah. So,
and he kept shooting.
And then the on-the-floor ability, like, I know that the tag that gets put on him is there's defensive upside. I don't know if it's going to be consistent enough to warrant what's going to come with him. And if you're already tired of Luka complaining, if you're tired of, the outspokenness of some of this team with ownership, with the head coach, whatever, just wait till the quotes coming from the pressers after Dillon Brooks gets 25 hung on his head.
If he shows up.
Tolos are liking the idea of Marcus Smart, also Karl Anthony Towns being thrown in there as well. That doesn't really help you much on the defensive end, but anyway, a little bit on the Mavericks there.